Hello viewers, it's TS Academy once again, and for today we're dealing with one of the important topics called market structure. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back. Alright, for students who really want to have not just a good knowledge of market structure, but those who just want to know the most important things that the syllabus require from them, and the major points that any examiner will want to pull questions out from, looking at 10 years of the past question. So we just want to have this topic projected, looking at it from the direct point of view. The major things that the examiner would want to have as the component of its questions is going to be reviewed as we take this topic. And the first thing you need to know as a student, if you're having market structure in mind, as one of the topics you really want to get your score from, whether you're writing WAEC or JAMB and any other prospective university exam, is to tell yourself what a market is. So for market structure, we will first of all define what a market is. And for any student, the market is not necessarily a meeting point for buyers and sellers. It is just the interaction, communication between buyers and sellers to exchange goods and services for money. Anything that brings them into communication and interaction. Once the goods exchange hands, money exchange hands, market is established. It doesn't have to be a location. A dealer who is in China and then the buyer is in Nigeria, all you need is just the internet communication, online messages, account number is made available, make your payment for goods, it gets to you, and that's all that has to do with market in that aspect. For those who don't have to meet themselves in a location, that's still market going on. It's just relative buying and selling thing, whether it is physical or non-physical. So I would just put that in one corner of the board so that people can see markets is the interaction between, okay, this can run better than this so that we can have a more visible. So is the interaction, I hope this is clear enough, the interaction between buyers and sellers. So don't get this wrong. Buyers and sellers to exchange goods and services, to exchange goods and services for money. And then we kick off from there. Market structure is now the means with which this happens. The means, the method, the avenue with which the interaction between buyers and sellers to exchange goods and services for money is carried out. So leaving the definition, we can just look at the two legs of market structure. The first one is recognized as the perfect market. the perfect market, and then the imperfect market. Perfect market, imperfect market. In a perfect market, what we need to establish here is just one kind of firm, and that's your perfectly competitive. So let's use a bullet. You have a perfectly competitive firm. You can also call it perfect competition. Perfect competition. On the other hand, you have under imperfect market, you have the monopoly. You have monopolistic competition. Monopolistic competition. And then you have 3 to 4 other components under imperfect market, but they don't look relevant for students who are still prospective university students, because it becomes more relevant to those who are going to university, who eventually start studying economics in the university. So for prospective university students, it's 1, 2, 3 that makes a lot of difference, like more important. But I'm just going to introduce these other ones so that we can know them, just the definition. We're not going to dwell on them using diagrams. So I'm going to bring in the other part of monopoly, which has to do with which is known as monopsony. After monopsony, we can consider duopoly. We can consider bringing in duopsony. We can also bring in the one that has to do with few, oligopoly. And then we do oligopsony. Now before I proceed, I will need space to put up the names of these, and then that's all. And then we can move on to the concentration on the 3 major components for prospective university students. So for this, what we need to know is monopsony, duopoly, duopsony, oligopoly, and oligopsony. We just need to know their names, what happens here. Monopoly is a market characterized by one seller and many buyers. Now, it's similar to monopsony. It has a connect to monopsony. You can notice the S here, and that's missing here. I'm putting up a shortcut on how students can know this without having to pick up their textbook all the time. Monopoly, monopsony. One has S, the other doesn't have an S. The one with an S takes the buyer's position. The one without an S takes the seller's position. So if monopoly is the market, if monopoly is a firm, a market with one seller, many buyers, then monopsony has to do with one buyer, many sellers. Duopoly is duo. Now for students who even need shortcuts, it is OBMS. So we can have it in another form, OB, comma, let's put it up there. This is OB, comma, MS. For this next one, we can have duopoly. Duopoly, duopsony. Duopoly, duo means two. In a market, two sellers, many buyers. Two sellers, two sellers, many buyers. So in the absence of space, I think we can bring in the letter representation here. So we have OBMS, for example, and then we have TSMB, two sellers, many buyers. We'll get to the next one. It has S. So the one with S is for buyers, while the one without S is for sellers. So this one has S, and we're still dealing with duo, which is two. So with S, not for sellers, we have two buyers. We have many sellers. And that gives us TBMS, for example. So don't get it twisted. The next one we have oligopoly. Only means few. We're still talking about the market. Take note, the one without S is for sellers, the one with S is for buyers. So we have few sellers, many buyers. So it gives us FSMB, abbreviation for shortcuts. Oligopoly, oligopsony, with S, that's for buyers. So we have few buyers, many sellers. So we have FB and MS. So this takes our attention away from everything here, because I don't want to dwell on them, so I can give a clue of what they mean, and then we'll take this whole thing and concentrate on the three. Don't forget, a market is the interaction between buyers and sellers to exchange goods and services for money. Market structure, therefore, is the means or the method with which buyers and sellers interact to exchange goods and services for money. We don't have to write that because of space. Now, students don't really have problem with these definitions. The main problem over time that I've noticed with students who go into the exam hall and don't find market structure easy is with the interpretation of the diagrams. And there are 6 major diagrams here that we need to interpret. And that's why I need them to focus and concentrate now. Everything here can be read from any textbook. You can get this information if you don't get it here. But most textbooks will not explain the diagrams, bringing out the main points. Even if they do, it might be difficult for them to touch the area that the examiner really wants you to catch. Now, there are shortcuts I'm going to review here. I'm going to help the students understand that they don't need to learn all the diagrams. There are shortcuts that makes one diagram solve 3 problems for you, because the short run of the diagram for short-run equilibrium of a monopolist is the same as the long-run equilibrium of a monopolist, and is also the same as the short-run equilibrium of a monopolistic competition. Take note so that you know how the examiners, put up questions and you don't have to put everything in your head. So we can take this out, and then we start with the perfect market. One of the things that we can establish is the equilibrium of each of these two legs. The first one we need to start with is the perfect market. Now, the perfect market is a market that is characterized by many buyers and many sellers. And with many buyers, many sellers, it means that no seller or buyer can control the market ruling price. It therefore means that the market ruling price in a perfect market is determined or controlled by the forces of demand and supply. Take note, forces of demand and supply for a perfect market. Forces of demand and supply. Now, if this is a perfect market, we're considering just one firm under it, and that's perfect competition. Before we put up a perfect competition, let's take note of this. The perfect market is made up of perfect markets. We have three components in the definition. It is a market that is made up of many buyers and many sellers. Don't forget, many buyers and many sellers. Let's call it 2. It is a market that has free entry and free exit. The futures, free entry and free exit. Many buyers, many sellers, we've explained that before. It means that no seller or buyer can control the market ruling price. The market ruling price here is fixed by the forces of demand and supply. The next one, a feature that we have under perfect market, we can, let's call it future, is the fact that there is no preferential treatment. Take note. So you don't say because the person is your mom or your relative and then you change the market ruling price. So that brings us to the next one. Why this don't happen easily is because there is perfect knowledge in the market ruling price. Now, having established perfect knowledge in the market ruling price, goods sold are, before I forget, they are homogeneous. And then the rest can actually follow. Majorly, this is what we can have. And then when we leave this stage, we can now go into serious diagram representation. So just be with us. We'll be right back for that. All right. So as we proceed, like I said earlier, we now need to have a full concentration on, the diagrams represented under the perfect market first, which is where the perfectly competitive firm, come in. There are two diagrams. One of the diagram is going to be talking about short-run equilibrium, which also means short-run profit maximization or short-run optimization of a perfect market. And then we'll move into long-run equilibrium, long-run profit maximization, or long-run optimization of a perfect market, or a perfectly competitive firm, whichever way. But before we step into that, I want to take these features out and then put up a perfect definition for market structure. We skipped that earlier. And having skipped that, I believe we should come back and have that on our board, like below this. What will market structure now be? It will become the interaction or the means. Let's go. It becomes the means by which with which the interaction between buyers and sellers interaction between buyers and sellers to exchange goods and services for money is carried out. So it's just as simple as that. It's the means with which the interaction between buyers and sellers to exchange goods and services for money is carried out. So this is the vehicle that makes this happen. That's what market structure is. We have established the two angles of it, or the two legs involved there. But let's go straight into the two kind of diagrams that have to do with the short run and the long run of a perfect market. So let's go. The only firm in a perfect market is perfectly competitive firm. And we're classifying it into two forms. We're taking the short run equilibrium of a perfect market. If that's short run equilibrium of a perfect market, I think I'll bring it below so that we don't get confused, of a perfect market. Now for short-run equilibrium of a perfect market, please take note. Short-run equilibrium also means short-run profit maximization or short-run optimization. Now we're going to start from the diagram. This is what the diagram looks like. We have an average cost curve short run. We have a marginal cost curve short run. We trace the price line. This is a quantity line and this is a point of origin. And then we establish what we call the average variable cost curve. Because we're dealing with the short run of a perfect market, let's establish the fact that the marginal revenue is here, which is also the price line, or better still, the demand line. Don't forget, the demand curve that is facing a perfect market is horizontal. Now, most examiners, after having this diagram, don't care about anything else apart from helping you or trying to know if you understand the kind of profit that is being made here, know how to show that profit using the letters on the diagram, and then find out if you know the profit maximization output for a firm. What's the supply curve? Where is the demand curve? And that's what you can see on the board. Please, the diagram representing the supply curve is the marginal cost curve. From this point, if the examiner has what we call short-run equilibrium as a question, it will please you to also know that in the short run, a perfect market or perfectly competitive firm will make abnormal profits. Now, abnormal profit is said to occur when your total revenue is greater than your total cost. And we can establish that somewhere around here. From what we can see, this is your cost line and this is your buying line. So your revenue stays here and then your cost stays here. You can see the line of the average cost. So the amount spent on each factor of production is your average cost. So when we have to look at it between the difference in the line above and the cost line, you can see that the shaded region is your profit. This kind of profit is called abnormal profit, supernormal profit, or economic profit. So in the short run equilibrium of a perfect market, there is abnormal, supernormal, or economic, all of them profit. Now this abnormal or economic profit, that is, so this is said to occur where total revenue, TR means total revenue, is greater than total cost. It means that my total revenue minus my total cost will not be equal to 0. Or better still, my total revenue minus my total cost will give me a kind of profit. So this sign is profit sign. If I have to put it in brackets, please take note. This means profit. So profits from the diagram above, I can see that my profit region, if I have to combine this, the alphabet represented under total revenue and total cost, I can have this profit region established. Maybe we can actually bring it somewhere around here for better understanding. So picking it from this point, you recall that what? My total revenue from the diagram is ORSQ. ORSQ. While my total cost from the diagram is OPTQ. OPTQ. Then TR minus TC will give us ORSQ minus OPTQ. For example, so we have these two in bracket. What do we have left? O takes O and Q takes Q. We have RSPT. If we must rearrange it to what we have here, we can also rearrange it to be PRST. Perfect. So in the short run, a perfect market will make abnormal profit, supernormal profit, or what? Economic profit, which is said to occur where total revenue is greater than total cost. And that means total revenue minus total cost cannot be equal to 0, or total revenue minus total cost must give you a certain profit. And that profit is represented in your shaded region. From this shaded region, we can bring it into the alphabet represented there, PRST. And that gives us the profit angle. One of the things you also need to note when you're dealing with market structure is that the profits maximization output is at the point where marginal cost is equal to marginal revenue. That is, MC is equal to MR. Looking at it from the diagram above, it's at point T. This is my marginal cost curve, short run, and this is the marginal revenue curve. You can see that this line of intersection is where point T is. So let's have it there at point T. One thing you also need to know in this aspect is, but my MR is equal to P. Therefore, so my MR is P. Therefore, we can have MC equal to MR and also equal to P. Now, P in this case can also be your average revenue. So in case the examiner changes the structure of the arrangement, replacing P with AR is not a problem. It can also take the position of AR. And that's exactly what the short-run equilibrium of a perfect market, looking at it from the examiner's point of view, with respect to 10 years of the past question, can contain. And that's it. All right, viewers, we have been able to expose a good part of the topic called market structure. Subsequently, we'll be coming in to give the other diagrams contained in this topic. But before then, don't forget to click on the like button, subscribe button, turn on your notification, and don't forget to leave a comment. Thank you very much. God bless you.